Well, I do it every term, I just forget this particular result. I'm curious to see where we're going to land. Maybe it's going to be here. Is it going to be over here? Is it going to be over here? Is it going to be down there? I don't know. Let's find out. One prop Z. Okay. The new proportion we're testing against is 5. Okay. Now here's where I had to do some Googling to find. I know, there you are, there were 402 deaths in 2009. Now it's kind of hard to call that a sample. That almost sounds like a census, doesn't it? But chances are, not every death was perfectly reported. So although it's not perfectly a census, we can still treat it mathematically like a sample. You see what I'm getting at there? Very often when you draw a sample, it's a controlled sample. This was 402 reported by the paper and sourced by the paper. So it's kind of pushing the definition of what a sample is. But it's all I've got. Then I had to do some more Googling, and I had to figure out there were about 590,000 bikes on the road. Right? 500, so you know this is way less than 1%. Way less than 1%. The question is 509,000, which is definitely an estimate because some bikes aren't registered. Please?
Wait, is it 590,000?
Oh, 590! Thank you, I'm reading my own handwriting here. My own hand typing. Because you know some bikes aren't going to be registered, and some of the bikes that aren't registered might be the ones that died. That's possible too. That'd be an interesting statistical study to see.
Is it how many bikes that are registered, or how many people have the endorsement to ride a motorcycle?
I plead practical ignorance.
Because there could be extra people riding it.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. This is what I was able to gather from Florida's Department of Transportation website. Fair enough. Yeah, and that's why I plead practical ignorance. There might be differences that I'm missing here, but that's what I was able to get. Let's check if C was greater than. Okay, let's find out. You guys like draw, yes? I think you do. Here we go. Holy! It's a lot of friggin' area. Look at your test statistic. Look at your test statistic. Negative 1.8. Negative 1.8. Here's your test statistic. Number 7, Z equals negative 1.79 or negative 1.8 or whatever you want to call it, and whatever to round to, that's up to you. I'd round it to at least 1 decimal. I wouldn't call it negative 2. That gets a little bit generous. So here, actually, let me do this to make it clear. It's not bad, huh? There. So, talk to me. What the hell we're looking at right now? Megan, talk to me. What I love about this is, go ahead.
The 5% is on the other side.
Look what we just discovered. First of all, let's complete our question. We know the test statistic is negative 1.8. The p-value it carries is very large, about 96%. Remember that the p-value is the level of agreement between the data and the null hypothesis. So the null hypothesis says the rate is either the same as it was in 99 or it went down. This percentage here is the level of agreement in the data that you have, and that belief. That's a lot of agreement, friends. That's a lot of agreement. Good, Renee, good. Now hold that thought. First, you go up to 100%, change the whole curve. Number 9, does it appear or does it not appear? With respect to the research hypothesis, do we believe this?
Yeah, because I mean, it equals it. If they
Do we believe this?
No.
No, we cannot believe. No, good. We cannot believe this. So it does not appear. It does. We've got a big p-value. That means it does not appear that anything changed. It does not appear that the Florida motorcycle death rate in 2009 increased over 1999. Does not appear, which means I cannot believe the newspaper's results, can I?
Gasp.
Gasp.
You can't.
Gasp. Shudder to think. Could we have made an error?
Yeah.
Of course. And what type would it be in this case? It would be a type 2, wouldn't it? If you get a big p-value, that's the only type, because a big p-value is a negative test. It means you said nothing changed. We're still on this curve. we're still on this curve. We haven't gotten off this curve. We're in the 95% confidence area of, remember, we had to land over here to believe something was different, but we landed way down here. Now notice how it's shaded to the right. Some of you might be confused by that, the fact that it's shading to the right. That's because we were testing shading to the right. We were testing to see if it was greater. So if the test statistic lands here, it's going to shade to the right. The only way it's going to be significant is if it lands way to the right and then shades to the right, because it's not going to pick up much area then. If it lands way to the left, it's going to pick up a huge chunk of the curve as it goes. Renee, go ahead.
It could have fallen.
It actually looks like the rate has gone down significantly if you think about it. That's where you would actually follow this test up with, wait a minute, time out. There's a 96% chance of agreement with the null hypothesis. Maybe our null hypothesis was wrong. Maybe it was wrong. I mean, if we're getting data that's so far to the other side of the research, maybe we should change what we're actually looking at. Maybe we should see if it actually went down from 1990, because it looks like it did. I mean, the negative means it's below where it should have been. If it were increasing, it would be positive, yes? But it's negative. Now, don't run the test. But if we were to change these signs to test that, like that, if we were to do that, don't run this. That would still be negative 1.79. That wouldn't change, because mathematically you haven't changed the numbers at all. What would that be?
0.3 something.
Wouldn't that be the complement? You can't see it now. Wouldn't that just be shaded the other way, because now it's a left tail test? It would then shade that, which means it would be about 0.0366, 3.6%, which is under 5%, which means not only does it not look like the rate went up, it actually went down. So, Gainesville Sun is what this tells me. Now you can pick it apart with the data analysis. You can totally pick it apart with with where I got my numbers from, whether I accounted for all the endorsements. But here's the deal: if I missed some endorsements, let's go with the next point, which is a very suppose I missed some endorsements.
They probably did the same way.
But that's okay. But suppose I did. Even if I did, it's only going to make it more significant, because all it's going to do is make the 590,000 go up, which is going to make this more negative. It's going to send it further into this tail. The 402 is the 402. Unless there were some deaths that went unreported, which I would hope wouldn't happen, I would hope.
No, because they were trying to sensationalize it. They would have got it.
They would have got every death, but maybe I underestimated the denominator, the 590,000, but if I got more in there, suppose it was 610,000, it would make it even more extreme and make the rate even lower, which would make it more significant. So that wouldn't worry me as much as, I don't like not catching every data nuance, but then again, I don't understand that much about it. Ask me questions on this. Michael, what's brewing in your mind? Go ahead.
I just think that's because people without helmets are going to be more careful.
That's possible, huh? John must say I do agree, Sherry, but that's a good. If you're not having a helmet on, it's the same thing as like it's I heard it called the SUV mentality. Why so many SUVs flip themselves like on snowy roads? I'm on an SUV. What can go wrong? Well, physics. I mean, just because you're in an SUV doesn't mean the physics doesn't apply to you anymore.
Well, maybe nobody changed their habits either.
It's possible. It could also be this was an outlier. Maybe we should check it from 1999 all the way up to 2009, not just 2009, right? Maybe check 08, 07, 06, 05 and see if there was a trend. Maybe the trend was dropping. Maybe we can attribute it to better education at the registration lines, possibly. I'm just throwing all these possibilities out there that could attribute it besides just the absence or presence of a helmet on someone's head. Many reasons.
Maybe there were thousands of deaths the year before, so everybody got a helmet.
Maybe. There's all kinds of, that's why time series might be worth looking at. Harrison?
Yeah, I've always looked at, like, if you're on a motorcycle and you get in a wreck, like, internal injuries are going to kill you more than, like, your head.
Is that statistical? I don't know that.
Like, it also seems like it would be statistical, because if you're going to fall off a motorcycle, chances are you're going kind of fast. At least I would be. And, like, if you fall and hit yourself, you're going to hit something hard and your head might not be the first thing. It's like riding horses, people that wear helmets, like, it really doesn't do anything, you're going to break your neck.
Yeah. It just makes my stomach
like,
of course, I'm a bike commuter. I shouldn't make my own insurance. I have to deal with it, I guess.
There's also the possibility that they just really didn't go about this right, and they meant that the percentage of the people who died weren't wearing helmets instead of that number being the
The
percentage
total.
of yeah.
And I have to read into that.
They just didn't do it correctly.
I just have to read it as 402 motorcycle-related deaths occurred here. That's all I've got. Motorcycle-related deaths. Is that the same as a death on a motorcycle? I don't know. I mean, maybe they were standing in the garage and the damn thing fell off the lift onto them. I mean, it's motorcycle-related. Maybe you had a heart attack next to the bike as he was starting it. That's a motorcycle-related death. I mean, definition, right? Back to the definition.
They had the rate one, they just said the numbers, but
Oh, I saw it, but I'm trying to support them.
Right.
Unfortunately, I can't. Looks like it went down.
they're just trying to say something.
But you can't just claim that the number going up is meaningful. For the Star Wars Episode 4 A New Hope analogy I had earlier. I mean, you know, Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon, 1973. Still, to this day, one of the most sold albums in history. The thing's 40 years old, was at least the day I was born, or the year I was born, 1973. Think about that. It still has sold more copies than most, but you never hear about that because you have to adjust that for 40 years, what it was worth in 1973 when it came out, what it was worth, like literally sold for in 73. When you talk about how much money it's made in revenue, you have to adjust that revenue for 2014 dollars. So when you hear about the most recent country hit that came out and has grossed more money than all other hits combined, grain of salt. Adjust that for inflation backwards to 1973 when the Police released Every Breath You Take. That, I believe, was the longest running #1 single in history. Adjust that for 2014 dollars and see if these new country songs or these new pop songs even hold a candle. I'm not sure if you can. But that's why you can't just look at 402. If there are more cyclists on the road now than there were 10 years ago, then 402 doesn't mean squat. Except for sensationalism. Yeah, Renee, go ahead.
If you get stats like that,
Yeah.
and can you assume that it's statistically significant even if you just change H1 and H0? Like,
I wouldn't have thought to change it
but,
until I saw the result of the first one.
but would you still run?
Oh, I see what you're saying. I'm sorry, Renee, I see what you're saying. So, in other words, we ran this and got this. There's no need to run the other one. That tells you that the other one's going to be significant. Because if you turn the signs around, you're going to get that tail. I see what you're
It's more
saying.
than 95.
Because that's more than 95%, the converse has to be less than 5, or the complement has to be less than 5%. Good, you don't actually have to run it.
Oh,
Yeah, very, very good. Very, very good. This is a case in point of going to look for something and finding something completely different. Happens very often. Happens very often. Good?
And a good reporter.
A good reporter would hopefully understand inferential statistics as well. So, speaking of which, thank you for bringing that up. You guys might remember, I have one last test I want to crunch today to play with you guys. And then we can decide which one of these, if any, you guys want to submit for an in-class.
All of them.
All of them? Wait, let's just start with